This is TWiT.
Apple banned 2 controversial chemicals from part of the manufacturing process for iPhones and other Apple products. Apple environmental head Lisa Jackson posted on a company blog that benzene and N-hexane have been banned in the final assembly factories during the building of Apple products. Alyssa Walker is an editor at Gizmodo. I'm sorry, it's Elisa, right? Elisa Walker? Alyssa Walker. Okay, great. You're an editor at Gizmodo. Thank you so much for joining us today on Tech News Today.
Thanks for having me.
So why did Apple ban these chemicals?
Well, I think groups have been after Apple for a long time, as we know, for being more environmentally responsible. And these ones are probably not the most dangerous, but they have been investigated and have been proven to be known carcinogens. So it's good for them to remove them.
And they may not be the most dangerous, but they are among the most written about. They've become famous partly because of Apple's Chinese manufacturing. Now, what are benzene and hexane used for in the manufacturing process?
So benzene is used to clean electronic components, like inside of the phone or the iPad. And then the other one is a little bit more famous, as you said, because it's used to polish the touch screen. And this is the part where I guess it's being exposed to workers the most, and the part where they're kind of inhaling these products in the factories.
Now, as I understand it, N-hexane is something that could be used instead of alcohol, but it dries many times faster than alcohol, and that's why they use it. To what extent do you think is the use of dangerous substances like N-hexane a response to Apple pressure to speed up the manufacturing? In other words, are this and a lot of the abuses that we see in Chinese factories the result of U.S. companies like Apple pressuring them to create more products a lot faster?
Well, it's something that we always say, at Gizmodo, like, this is the reason they're not manufacturing these products in the U.S. is because these things would not be allowed to make the manufacturing process go that much faster. So it is a reason that they're able to have this incredible productivity. And we're hoping maybe the shift means that they'll be able to start manufacturing more of these things domestically.
Now, Apple's getting a lot of congratulations, I guess, in the press is one way to put it, for banning these chemicals. But in fact, they're not banned throughout the process. They're only banned in the final assembly. Both these chemicals are going to be used in many component manufacturers, factories, oftentimes very small factories all around China and Asia. Why not ban them throughout the entire process? Would that even be possible for Apple to do you think?
Well, I think, yeah, you're right. They're kind of allowing them in smaller amounts in an earlier part of the process. But a thing to remember about both of these chemicals is they're found already in your household and probably everywhere in the room that you are in right now, not only in your electronics. These are in things like gasoline, they're in cigarettes, they're in paint. So it's not really like they're ever going to be able to get rid of all of them, but making these steps is the right direction for them.
Now, we started by talking about the criticism, and they've been criticized by China Labor Watch, which is a U.S. organization that looks at labor conditions in China, and Green America, which is a U.S.-based environmental group. So they're both environmental and labor safety groups had been criticizing Apple about this. And another interesting component of this is that Lisa Jackson, who wrote this blog post for Apple and who joined Apple in 2013, used to be the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. So she's a big Washington big shot who Apple hired and brought in to sort of do exactly this kind of thing and figure out how to have a better record in terms of the environment and so on. One other little bit of trivia or tidbit is that something like 1.5 million workers in China are exposed to these chemicals with or without Apple. So it's a widely written about situation all over China. It's just a part of the reality of being a factory worker in China. Now, one last question for you. What else has Apple banned recently? I mean, since Apple launched the iPhone in 2007 until now, they've really banned quite a lot of substances, haven't they?
You are right in that they are making a huge initiative, and bringing on someone like Lisa Jackson has been an incredible move for them. Some of the other things that they banned are things like arsenic, lead. I mean, these are things that are in a lot of electronics, but they're really taking an industry leader position. And if they can affect this kind of change, then a lot of other companies will follow. So it's they have really kind of stepped up to the bat. They've been criticized for a very long time. And I think that what they're doing is going to actually make some pretty dramatic change in the industry.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on, but first I want to ask you about your gelato obsession. You seem to be super obsessed with gelato. What's the deal with that?
Well, you know, gelato is just one of those things that makes every day better.
It really does, and I was never much of a gelato fan until my wife and I lived in Florence for 3 months. Yeah, Florence,
That's
Italy.
also where I had my love affair. Yeah, I was eating it like for every meal for like a couple months, and when I was, I was maybe a problem, but it didn't seem so at the time.
Yeah, you can't walk 2 blocks in Florence without running into a really awesome gelato on a stand or.
Oh, okay. I just pictured like gelatos walking around and running into you.
That happens too.
There are like gelatos on each corner, and then there's also like a cart in the middle, so it's actually very hard to walk anywhere without being confronted.
Yeah, well, if you're going to be obsessed by something, that's a good one as far as I'm concerned. Alyssa Walker writes at gizmodo.com, and you can also find her personal blog at awalkerinla.com, and you can follow her on Twitter at awalkerinla. Thank you so much, Alyssa Walker, for joining us on Tech News Today.
Thanks for having me.